Hi everyone, I'm Trev from Coiltek. Today we're having a great chat with a lovely lady from the Northern Hemisphere in Canada, Laurie. She's a full-time detectorist along with her full-time job, but she loves detecting. She'd rather detect full-time than work full-time, that's for sure. But she's found some fantastic targets. She loves the NOX coils from Coiltek on the Equinox, and she has her own YouTube channel as well, which she can talk about. Hi Laurie, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, great. And so what is your YouTube channel and where can people find you and learn a bit more about what you do?
My YouTube channel name is Relic Dirty Hands. I had to choose two words and my hands were always dirty. And I love relic. So
Yeah,
Relic Dirty Hands is my YouTube channel.
that's the YouTube channel. Well, it makes sense, perfectly apt for the hobby you're into, that's for sure. And so you've been using the Equinox for several years now?
Yes, ever since it came out, ever since it hit Canada, I basically had my hands on it. And so we could say about 4 years now, I think. I think it's my fourth season,
Yeah.
I think. If we go by seasons, I think it's 4 seasons now that I've had the opportunity to use it.
Do you get to do much in Canada when it is sort of winter season, or is it just you just sort of put it in the cupboard and wait, or is there a few areas you can go?
It's terrible. My
Oh,
winters are awful. There's spent researching and drooling over other people's finds. We get a lot of snow, like something like 4 feet of snow, sometimes about 4 feet on average by the end of winter. So there's no way you can detect through 4 feet.
no.
In early winter, sometimes we can go, but we already have like a foot of snow in early winter for us.
Yeah.
And the ground gets we have permafrost going about probably 4 feet. A lot of our pipes around here, we have to dig them about 4 feet deep because of the freeze in the ground. So we've tried using an axe at the guy trying to get through into frozen ground, and that never worked, because a lot of people say, yeah, you can metal detect in the winter, but here in Quebec, Canada, unfortunately, we're not so lucky. So starting around November, December, pretty much frozen over until April from those months.
Oh, that's like you said, you just sort of scour YouTube and look at other people's finds and try and get a little bit of a fix from that, I guess. So
and research, it's researching the spots that we'd like to go and detect as soon as we're capable. So yes, I'd love to live somewhere where I could detect all year round, but if that was the case, I might not get as much done.
No, that's retirement plan, I think, when time to retire and you actually got all the time on the hands, that could be a good option. But obviously with the Equinox, you've been doing really well, and you've used all three of the Coiltek NOX coils. With the 15-inch is one that we'll have a bit of a chat about today. You have said in another video that you don't use that one as much as, say, the 14x9 or 10x5, but you have used it. What's your initial impressions?
I absolutely loved it when I used it. I love the coil. I've had 2 opportunities where it really worked out using it. I've used it on the farm field, and the one time again in an area that I had recently detected as well, I was able to get really, really deep coin with a 15-inch. So I did use it once on that farm field. I was successful with it in an area that we've been obviously hunting for quite a long time. And the other time that it really came in handy, actually, it was Eric that was using it, and I can't take credit, but we kind of fought over the coil because we just recently had found a location at a park, and we managed to pull out about 24 coins between 3 of us, old Victorian coins that were all just at the max of the depth of the Equinox. Like, I boosted up my recovery. I lowered my recovery speed, up my sensitivity. We were just barely hearing all of these targets. Anyways, when it was time to go back again, Eric and I are like, oh, what coil? And then, he hasn't had the opportunity to use the 15. So he put on the 15, and he was the only one that was able to pull out a coin from this really little hot spot that we were all detecting. So the depth was excellent, it has excellent depth. But like I said, a lot of the places I metal detect are really high trash. They have a lot of trash targets in the ground, and this is not So this is why I haven't used the 15 as often as I like. Fall will be coming. I'll be able to get back on the farm fields with it.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely be using, it'll definitely be my choice when it comes to when I need more depth. That's the choice. I'll go
definitely a good coil for depth, being big and round, and broad. You know, the 15 by 12 from my lab still has excellent depth capabilities, but as you broaden the coil's width, that you're going to get even better depth capabilities from the coil as well. So, you know, like you're saying, open fields, open areas would be your suggestion for this coil?
Absolutely. I say open fields, parks, pastures, large beaches, and I would say places with moderate trash as well. I did try the larger coil in an area that had more trash, and I found it a little more difficult. To use in that situation. But when you're in wide open, you're covering lots of ground like I've never covered before. So you cover a lot of a lot of ground, and the depth is incredible. Like I said, that coin I found, the target ID numbers come in really well. And you can tell when you've been detecting with the Equinox when you need more depth. You can hear those really deep, faint targets, and you just can't get a good repeatable signal. You put on the larger coil, and you're going to get a much better signal and a more repeatable. And that's something as well that I had noticed. So the deeper some items are, they do ring in differently. Yeah. When the deeper the target is, I find the target ID number decreases slightly.
Yeah, it can jump around a little bit too, can't it? You know, sort of, it might seem a little bit odd, but as soon as you take an inch or two off the ground, it should come a bit more solid after that. But I mean, it is the right coil for the right conditions and the right detecting, area that you want to go in and what you're looking for. So like you said, if you've been to an area where you've had, say, the 11-inch or even the 15 by 12, and you've pulled out some deep targets and you still think there may be something a little bit deeper, that's where the 15-inch would be a good opportunity, do you think?
Absolutely. It's going to tell you if anything's left. I mean, it's going to be able to pick up those little deeper targets that, like I said, there's some of our sites that you can tell if that stuff is deeper and you could just hear it, but you just, are you going to dig it or not? It could be or couldn't, it's really hard to tell on a really deep target, but definitely you have an area that you have a lot of deep stuff that you pulled out before. I would definitely run the 15-inch coil over that same area again, because there's always stuff hiding. You can never grab it up.
That's right. You never clean up a patch. Whenever someone says to you, I've done that area, it's done to death, that's the spot where you go first and have a bit of a try, because most people will only say they've done it to death with one coil type or one direction, So, that's where I tend to go as well. If someone says, oh, that park's clean, or I've done that playground or something like that, off you go. So, have you found the coil's ability to swing, like, when you have used it, how's it feel on the detector?
It felt really good. I find all three coils, I really enjoyed how they felt. The 15 again is, I had to adjust my swing again with the 15. But I absolutely love it. I find they're well balanced. They just, I just balance it in my hand as I swing, and it's very smooth, and I really enjoy it. But a lot of my farm fields are plowed fields as well. And like I said, I have a lot of rocky shores and rocky beaches and stuff like this. So this is where the 15, I need it. It's not like I don't need the I would hate not to have it and then, not be able to check those areas afterwards where I found other deep things in the past. And like you said, if anybody has ever said that they found any deep targets or really old deep coins or something, I'm like, let me have it. Let me go. Please let me give it a try.
Well, that's right. It's another tool in the chest, isn't it? A mechanic doesn't just have one tool in the chest to do everything. They have a multitude, and they know what to use and when. So same sort of scenario.
And it's just, I absolutely love having all of those three coils, and they all have their place and they all have their purpose. And I really wish I had more of an opportunity to use that 15, because like I said, I want to find those deeper targets, and it will come. The opportunities will come.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll have to check in with you in 2022 after a little bit more use of it, and we'll see what you think of the 15-inch coil a bit more. But there's some expectations that you can get from just knowing that it's a bigger coil as well. But, you know, I guess when you do have really big coils, sometimes it can be difficult to pinpoint with. You haven't had a lot of experience with it, but what's your thoughts there? I know you do use pinpoint mode a lot, but do you think it'd be a bit more difficult to pinpoint with?
Not not if you're using the pinpoint mode, not if you isolate that one target, and if you really try to isolate it first and then you use your pinpoint mode. I don't see why anybody would have any difficulty pinpointing with it if you're using the pinpoint function. I just haven't, I can't see why anybody would have, I don't know, I guess
No, that's all right.
if you're just starting off with a difficulty coil for the first time, yes, you're going to have difficulty. But my biggest advice to everybody is use that pinpoint function. Use it. It's fantastic. We all get a little lazy and, you know, just want to cross over it and dig it up. But then you're going to be digging up a second hole and maybe a third hole.
Big coils can be a little bit daunting, you know, if you haven't used a big coil before, you know, to sort of understand. So what sort of tips would you give to someone if they've sort of only used an 11-inch and 6-inch and they're not sure about going to a 15?
Probably what advice not to do or what to do.
Yeah, a bit of both. I mean, you know, what not to do would be a good one because that'll help. And then, you know, how would they go about sort of that transition?
The very first time I took it out, I did not choose the right coil. I went to a school site that we have that has really deep targets as well. But the thing that I forgot about this site is that it was pretty trashy. So it was really difficult to isolate signals. So that's the only thing. If you're in a high trash situation, I do find it harder to isolate your signals because you have so many that come under the coil at the same time, I guess you can say. So that's a not to do. Don't expect to go to a really high trash area and have like the time of your life. It's in my experience, it was a little overwhelming and a little difficult to use there. But when you're in an area with moderate trash or low trash, I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, it's so easy to isolate your signals and everything else. And it's really, but like anything, you know, it's a super hypersensitive coil. That's all I have to say too.
It has some good sensitivity. Like you're saying, if it's hypersensitive, that means, you know, even the small stuff at the right depth can be seen with this coil.
Absolutely. And what's really crazy is our spring when we get the big thaws. And that's something I have to say about it. It was hypersensitive. So I really had to reduce that sensitivity when using the 15-inch coil. I noticed I had gotten a lot more interference, electromagnetic interference, and this sort of stuff with that monster of a coil.
And that's a good point. I mean, a bigger coil is essentially just a bigger antenna picking up more targets in the ground, more ground conditions, more external interference, a bit more of everything. So, you know, how would you play the sensitivity with that? Would you, you know, some people like running them really hot, but how would you run the sensitivity with a big coil like that?
I never like running my sensitivity too hot because I'm always looking for those faint deep targets. And you cannot, I'm sorry, what anybody says, you cannot hear those faint deep targets when your sensitivity is a little too hot and it's a little chatty and everything else. You'll miss them. You absolutely miss them. So I always, like with all of my coils, I always run them a little lower. Just slightly lower. So when it gets a little chatty, I'll reduce it one. If I'm still hearing a little, I'll reduce it a second. And then it really cleans everything up and you can really hear all the targets. You're no longer guessing that's falsing or that's just chippy and that's just chatter. You know it's not chatter. You know it's a target. So you're going to go and investigate that target. So anytime, I think with using it, it's really important to reduce your sensitivity. And make it stable. It's really important with the Equinox. Is a fantastic machine as long as you're running it stable. If it's unstable, it's absolutely overwhelming and can drive you crazy.
You'll end up putting the detector in the car and not worrying about it, you know, and going home with nothing sometimes as well. So, you know, just finding that nice balance of recovery speed and sensitivity. And swing speed too, you know, with smaller coils, you know, you can tend to want to swing a lot faster. How have you found this sort of swing speed with the 3 coils? Have you changed anything from other coils?
Not that I've noticed. I may swing faster with a 10x5. I'm gonna pay attention. I'm gonna take a look at what I'm doing because I never actually really pay attention to my swing speed. I just go with what I listen. It's almost like a second nature thing where I'm just going, and then depending on how trashy and what my recovery speeds are at, depending on how fast I swing. But
It's
like I
also
said,
comfort factor, isn't it? You know, if you're swinging really fast with a bigger coil, it can definitely bring in a bit more fatigue as well. So what's comfortable with the swing speed is important too.
yes. And I mean, even though it's a very fast machine, I still believe in a 2 to 3 second swing, especially in the higher trash areas, stuff like this. But then when you get over target, then you can wiggle it and speed up your swing and really try to catch on to that target or whatever. But
yeah, nice. Well, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here where you can answer with any coil size. Just a few frequently asked questions that we've got through our website and through Facebook as well. So we'll just get Laurie's answers to these to see how she feels about them. So one of them is, which coil is best for beach detecting?
oh, I feel like that is a trick question.
What would you use if you went to the beach? Let's say, a nice Florida beach or something like that.
So one of those really big, long, beautiful beaches that you see.
Open beach, yep.
I would probably take my 15.
Yeah.
I think the 15 would probably be my first choice on the beach, on a very large beach like that. I mean, I can't see it being like super, super trashy. I mean, I'm sure there's foils and pull tabs like we have here, but I think I'd like to cover a lot of ground, and I think the 15 would be my choice.
So the next question is, why would someone want to buy a different sized Equinox coil? They've got the 11-inch, they bought that one. They're reasonably new to detecting with the Equinox. Why should they buy a different coil?
To simplify life a little bit, especially when you're a new detectorist. I think the small 10x5 would be an awesome tool for a new detectorist. Really hear that target separation, not to be so overwhelmed with so many targets underneath the coil and everything else. The 10x5 will get you a lot better target separation. You're going to be able to find, like with any detector, you can go one way, you miss it, you go the other way, you're going to catch something and this and that, so the target separation for the 10x5 is a must. The 14x9, again, I think for maneuverability is the bonus and the coverage for the 10x5, and the 15, obviously the depth. Getting a lot more depth and being able to find, especially if they're metal detecting areas that people have been metal detecting for like the past, how many years, like 50 years or 100 years, or, so I really feel that if they're up against those type of sites, they do need these additional coils, because you can keep going over these locations and you're going to be finding different things with, I just think they're great tools, and it's so much fun to be in a situation where you have the tool for it and you're like, yes, that's fine. I got, the small coil, and I'll be able, oh, that's fine. There's really deep stuff here. I'll get 15-inch. So really, there's a reason for all of them.
Yeah, there you go. Go out and buy every one of them, everyone.
Every one of them.
That's what we like. The next question is, which coil is best for depth? So if someone wants to go really deep in some ground, what coil would you suggest them to use?
I would suggest the 15, unless it's a trashier site. If you need a little more separation, then I would probably refer the 14x9. But really, for the depth, the go-to would be the 15.
Fantastic. Good, thank you. Which coil is best for sensitivity?
10x5.
10x5. Yeah, that was confident, that one. You knew that one straight away.
No, I completely understand that the smaller the coil, the more sensitivity. And you can kind of feel that as well while you're using the 14x9 and the 15 in comparison. Like, I just find the 10x5 is so sensitive and so sharp. It's an incredible coil. So when it comes to sensitivity, the 10x5.
Hands down, yeah. And last question is, for each coil type, just give us your perfect location. So if we go through the 3 coils, 10x5, 14x9, and 15-inch, just as a bit of an overview, if 10x5, what would be your perfect location? 14x9, 15-inch?
10x5, I would have to say rocky shores and really brushy forests, and those are my 2 ideal places for the 10x5. The 14x9, I love plowed farm fields with it. I love how you can, it gets in between, you know, the little divots when they plow. It really gets in between and you can really follow. With the larger 15, I find you have to hover on top of it. So in between the rows, you're not kind of, you can't scrub the ground as well. So the 14x9 on plowed fields, actually, even when in corn stalks, I find that it was great. I've used it there. In parks, when you need a lot more separation and moderate trash, I feel that 14x9 is the go-to coil for those situations.
Fantastic. And then the 15-inch round, what would be your perfect hunt location for that one?
Oh, I would say, you know, really beautiful grassy pastures with lots of history.
Sounds good, isn't it?
But, yeah, a lot of, I would say, you know, cleaner farm fields, pastures, beaches, you know, anywhere that you have wide open areas and flats. If the ground is flat, you're going to absolutely love swinging that coil on it.
Yeah, fantastic. That's excellent. Thank you for those questions answered there. We really do appreciate it. So fantastic to have you discussing these NOX coils with us today. We really do appreciate your support and efforts out there, and what you give back to the detecting community is fantastic with all your videos and the team that you work with as well, getting all those videos done and the great finds. We've seen several of them, so they're always fun to watch. So just let everyone know again, your YouTube channel and Facebook.
Yes, my YouTube channel name is Relic Dirty Hands. I can be found on Twitter as well on Relic Dirty Hands. I think it's Twitter. No, it's Instagram.
Instagram?
Yes.
Yep.
You know, I rely on my kids to tell me what platform.
Yeah, same. Dad, why are you using Facebook? It's so old school now. You know, you should be using Instagram or Snapchat. So
exactly, or TikTok, or, you know, these other ones, which I haven't even started yet. But yeah, I could be found on Facebook, on Instagram, and YouTube. Relic Dirty Hands is our channel name. And I also use that for Instagram, but on Facebook, can be found under Laurie Gagne. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Really do appreciate it. You can see Laurie on our Facebook group, Coiltek group. You can join that, our Facebook page, Coiltek, or go and hit us up through coiltek.com.au, and you can send us through any questions you want. We can answer them. We can even do little short videos for them as well. But we really do appreciate your time, Laurie, taking an evening out to have a chat with me today. We do hope you enjoy the NOX coils and keep finding some great stuff out there. We look forward to more stuff from you in the future.
Thank you. It was a really great pleasure, and I've been enjoying those coils so much. Thank you. Thank you for creating them. It's great to have all these extra tools.
Good fun.
You know, you have to get over first your settings of the Equinox, and once you really got your Equinox, and then the choices are what coil to go with it.
yeah. Like we said before, buy all of them. That's the best way, you know.
That's
then you've got one.
the best thing. I mean, then you have no doubt, and then you're not sitting there going, I should have bought this one instead of this one. No, you have all three, and it's like, what do you need today? You got it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we do appreciate your support and everyone's support out there. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you in the next video.